A little boy ran barefoot through a billionaire's mansion screaming, "Sir, please, don't go outside. Your wife is planning something terrible." He thought it was just a child's panic. Until the guards vanished, the car doors clicked, and the truth waiting beyond that gate nearly cost him his life. Before we dive in, tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? Now let's begin. The clock in the grand hallway struck 6, each chime echoing like a heartbeat through the marble corridors of Hayes Manor. Gold light from the setting sun filtered through tall windows, touching everything with an illusion of warmth. But inside, the air was cold. Leonard Hayes, billionaire industrialist, buttoned his charcoal coat and adjusted the crisp fold of his tie. His reflection in the glass door stared back, impeccable, powerful, untouchable. Tonight was no ordinary business meeting. The deal waiting for him would seal his company's global dominance. He reached for his briefcase. Behind him, a quiet shuffle broke the stillness. "Sir, please don't go outside." Leonard froze. The voice was small, trembling. He turned sharply. Standing by the staircase was Rico, the 9-year-old son of his headmaid, Elena. The boy's clothes were too big, his knees dusty from scrubbing floors, his dark eyes wide with terror. Leonard's brows furrowed. "Rico, what are you doing here?" "You're not supposed to be in this wing." The boy took a hesitant step forward, hands clutched tightly in front of his chest. "Please, Mr. Hayes," he whispered, voice cracking. "Don't leave. Not tonight." Leonard blinked, caught between irritation and disbelief. "And why exactly should I stay?" Rico's lip trembled. "I heard something. Your wife. She was talking to someone on the phone. She said if you go outside tonight." His words caught in his throat, fear choking him. "She said you won't come back." Silence. For a second, the only sound was the gentle hum of the chandelier overhead. Then Leonard exhaled a short, humorless laugh. "Your mother's been letting you listen to too many television dramas, hasn't she?" He shook his head. "Go back to your room, Rico, and tell your mother I'll speak with her about this nonsense later." Rico didn't move. His eyes filled with tears. "I swear, sir, I didn't mean to hear it." But she was angry. She said it loud. "Please just don't open the door." Leonard's jaw tightened. His patience, already thin from the day's stress, began to fray. "Enough. Whatever you think you heard, it's wrong." "My wife doesn't plot against me. She's preparing for the charity gala tomorrow." Rico shook his head frantically, his little chest heaving. "No, sir. I heard her say your name," she said. "Once he steps out, it'll be over." She said someone was waiting. Leonard's breath hitched before he could stop it. The word struck something deep, a flash of memory. His wife Maya, whispering in the study late at night. A door that clicked shut when he walked in. Her quick smile the next morning, too polished, too bright. He brushed it off then. "But now, Mr. Hayes?" The soft voice startled him. Elena, Rico's mother, stood in the doorway, apron dusted with flour, face pale. She grabbed Rico's shoulders and pulled him back. "Sir, I'm so sorry," she stammered. "He didn't mean to disturb you." "Rico, apologize." But Rico shook his head, tears spilling freely. "No, I can't. If he goes, they'll hurt him, Mama, I know it." Leonard's eyes, sharp and calculating, moved from the trembling boy to the terrified mother. "What exactly is he talking about, Elena?" She hesitated. "I don't know, sir. He said he heard Mrs. Hayes on the phone. I told him not to listen to grown-up things." Leonard's tone turned icy. "And what did he hear?" Elena's lips parted, but no sound came out. Before she could answer, Leonard's phone buzzed. He snatched it from his pocket. "Grant?" he said, his voice steady but tight. "The car ready?" "Yes, sir," came Mr. Grant's voice, his head of security. But there was hesitation in the tone. Although, something's off, Leonard frowned. "What do you mean?" "The driver. Not your usual one. Claims your wife sent him instead. Says you requested a replacement." Leonard's heartbeat slowed to a crawl. "And the gate?" "There's another vehicle parked across the street," Grant continued. "No plates. 2 men inside. They've been sitting there for 20 minutes. Leonard's throat tightened. "Stay exactly where you are. Don't move until I say." He ended the call. The silence that followed felt heavy. Electric. Rico's small voice broke through it. "See, I told you." Leonard looked at the boy. For the first time, there was no irritation in his gaze, only disbelief and a faint tremor of fear. He turned away, striding down the corridor toward his private study. Stay here, he ordered without looking back. Both of you. Inside the study, the scent of polished wood and expensive cologne hung thick in the air. Leonard pressed a button beneath his desk. Hidden screens slid open, revealing live feeds from the security cameras. The front gate came into view. There was his car. And there indeed a man in uniform, but not his driver. The posture was wrong. The eyes darted, the jaw too tense. Across the street, a black sedan idled. Tinted windows concealing whoever sat inside. A cold shiver crawled down Leonard's spine. Rico's words weren't fantasy. They were warning. He leaned back, his mind racing through possibilities. Was Maya truly capable of this? Betrayal wasn't a stranger in business, but in marriage. He clenched his fists. Behind him, the study door creaked open. Rico peeked in, hesitant. "Sir?" Leonard turned slowly. The boy's eyes were wide, shining with tears, but there was something else in them. Courage. Leonard knelt, bringing himself to the child's height. "You understand what you've done, boy?" he said quietly. "You've accused my wife of something deadly." Rico's chin quivered, but he nodded. "Yes, sir." "Then why tell me?" Leonard pressed. "You could have stayed quiet. You could have been wrong." Rico swallowed, voice barely above a whisper. "Because if I said nothing, and something bad happened, I'd never forgive myself." For a moment, Leonard couldn't find words. The child's innocence struck him harder than any truth ever had. He stood exhaling slowly, eyes dark with resolve. "You've done the right thing, Rico." Outside, thunder rumbled in the distance as clouds gathered over the mansion. The night was coming. Leonard turned toward the hallway. "Stay inside," he commanded. "Lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone." As he walked toward the master suite, the place where answers waited, the boy's voice followed softly behind him, trembling and pure. "Please, sir." "Be careful." Leonard didn't reply, but for the first time in years, fear flickered behind the eyes of the man who thought he feared nothing. The mansion that once felt eternal now seemed alive, whispering, creaking, watching. Rain began to tap against the glass walls of Hayes Manor, each drop like a ticking clock counting down to something unseen. Leonard Hayes stood before the glowing security monitors, his reflection ghosting across the screens. The images looped through silent truths. Two strangers near the gate, one pretending to scroll his phone, another smoking under the streetlight. Their body language was wrong. They weren't waiting for anyone. They were waiting for him. He leaned forward, jaw tightening. "Maya," he whispered under his breath. "What have you done?" Behind him, the study door opened with a quiet creak. Elena stood there, her hands wringing the edge of her apron, and beside her Rico, barefoot, eyes round with worry. Leonard turned sharply. "I told you both to stay put." "I'm sorry, sir," Elena said, voice trembling. He wouldn't stop crying. "He said you were in danger." Rico's voice cracked through the air, fragile but firm. "Sir, please, don't go near the door. They're still outside." Leonard exhaled, the weight of disbelief pressing down on him. "You've done enough already, boy. If not for you, I might have been walking into an ambush right now." The realization made his pulse race. For the first time in years, the man who'd conquered boardrooms and bought skyscrapers felt small, trapped in his own home. He grabbed the phone on his desk and dialed. "Grant report static." Then a low voice. "Sir, I approached the car as instructed. The man claiming to be your driver ran off the moment I asked for ID. The black sedan followed. We couldn't catch them in this rain, but they were definitely waiting for you." Leonard's fingers tightened around the receiver. "Understood. Lock down the perimeter. I want no one coming in or out." "Yes, sir." He hung up. For a long moment, he stared at the monitors again. The empty driveway. The flickering lamps, the storm swallowing the night outside. Then he turned, his gaze landing on the boy. "Rico," he said quietly. The boy looked up. Startled, Leonard crouched to meet his eyes. "When you heard her, my wife, what exactly did she say?" Rico hesitated, his voice shaking. "She said, when he steps out, make sure it looks like an accident." His small hands twisted together. Then she laughed. A man's voice said, "Don't worry. By the time anyone finds him, it'll be too late." The room felt suddenly airless. Elena gasped, pressing a hand to her mouth. Leonard's expression didn't change. But something behind his eyes cracked, not rage, not even grief, but awakening. For years, he'd ignored the growing silence in his marriage. The late meetings, the polite smiles, the way Maya's touch had grown colder. He had blamed success, time, exhaustion. Never once had he imagined betrayal. He straightened, pulling open a drawer. Inside was a small black device, his personal voice recorder. "Every room in this house records a 12-hour feed," he muttered. "Installed it myself years ago for privacy disputes. Never thought I'd use it for this." Elena and Rico watched as he pressed a few buttons. The device crackled, static, footsteps, then a familiar voice. Maya Hayes. "You'll get the money once it's done." He trusts that driver. Make it look natural. Then another voice, male, low and smooth. "Don't worry, Mrs. Hayes. By sunrise, you'll have everything." The recording ended with the sound of Maya's faint, chilling laugh. Elena gasped. Rico clutched her arm. Leonard's hand trembled for only a second before he slammed the device down. "So it's true," he said, voice hollow. "All of it." He paced the room once, running a hand through his hair, trying to steady his breath. "I built this empire from nothing. I worked every waking hour to give her the world, know when she sells me to strangers for a check." "Sir?" Elena whispered, "What will you do?" Leonard looked up, eyes burning with something fierce and unfamiliar. "I'll give her the chance to tell the truth. Once." He reached for his jacket. Rico stepped forward suddenly, clutching his sleeve. "Don't go alone, sir, please." Leonard paused. His instinct, the businessman's instinct, told him to dismiss the boy, to stand above emotion. But this child had already saved his life once tonight. He placed a steady hand on Rico's shoulder. "You have courage, son," he said softly. "But this part I face myself." Rico's eyes shone. "Just promise me you'll come back." Leonard hesitated, then nodded once. "I promise." He turned toward the door, his steps deliberate, echoing down the hall like distant thunder. The storm outside had grown furious, lightning slicing across the sky, throwing violent light over the mansion's glass walls. When he reached the master suite, the door was ajar. Inside, Maya Hayes sat before her vanity, a diamond bracelet glittering at her wrist, her reflection calm and unbothered as she painted her lips crimson. The picture of grace. The illusion of love. She met his gaze in the mirror, smiling faintly. "Leonard, you're late. Shouldn't you be gone by now?" Leonard stepped inside, shutting the door behind him. The click echoed like a lock sealing fate. "Change of plans," he said quietly. "There's something we need to talk about." Maya's smile faltered just slightly. "About what?" Leonard set the small recorder on the vanity. He pressed play. Her voice filled the room. "You'll get the money once it's done." He trusts that driver. Make it look natural. The lipstick fell from her hand. For a heartbeat, the storm outside seemed to stop, the world holding its breath. Leonard's voice was low, controlled, dangerous. "You're going to tell me exactly who they were and why. Right now." Maya slowly rose from her seat. Her reflection in the mirror no longer looked calm, only cold. "Be careful how you speak to me, Leonard," she hissed. "You've built your empire by crushing everyone beneath you. Did you really think your own house would be different?" Leonard's eyes darkened. "So that's it? Money?" "Not money," she snapped. "Freedom." He took a step forward, his reflection looming over hers. "You almost had me killed." She didn't deny it. Lightning flashed through the windows, illuminating her face, unbeautiful, unyielding, remorseless. Leonard turned away, the weight of her betrayal cutting deeper than any bullet could have. He whispered, "You were right, Rico. Down the hall." The boy and his mother waited in silence, unaware that upstairs, the truth had already turned deadly. The storm howled louder, and then Leonard Hayes, once the man who feared nothing, was now staring into the face of everything he had refused to see. The rain had turned wild, hammering against the glass walls of Hayes Manor like 1,000 fists. Lightning flashed, carving silver scars across the night sky. Inside the mansion, time felt frozen, the kind of silence that comes before everything breaks. Leonard Hayes stood inches from his wife, the recorder still humming faintly on the vanity table. Its red light blinked like a heartbeat in the dark. Maya's reflection met his eyes in the mirror, calm on the surface, but trembling at the edges, the way still water trembles before a storm. "You listened to me," she said finally, her voice sharp with disbelief. "You actually recorded me?" Leonard's voice was low, controlled. the fury beneath it trembling like a blade. You planned my death in my own home. Be grateful I only listened. Maya turned slowly, her diamond earrings catching the lightning. You think you're blameless? She spat. For years you made this house your fortress, your empire, and then left me out in the cold. You loved your business more than me, Leonard. I just learned from the master. Leonard's breath shook not from fear but from heartbreak. Learning from me doesn't mean becoming what I despise. Her lips curled into a bitter smile. Despise. You built your empire by destroying men weaker than you. Don't lecture me about conscience. I just played your game. Another flash of lightning lit her face. Beautiful, ruthless, foreign. Leonard turned away, pressing his palms against the marble vanity, his reflection fractured in the mirror. I would have given you everything, he said softly. You didn't have to take my life to have my fortune. Maya's eyes hardened, but I wanted both. For a moment, only the storm replied. Then a faint knock broke through the silence. Leonard's head snapped up. The door creaked open, and Rico stepped in, rainwater dripping from his small frame. He had slipped out during the storm, worried sick. Sir, he gasped. There are men near the gate again. Mr. Grant caught one. He said there. He froze when he saw Maya. The tension in the room hit him like a wall. Leonard moved instantly, placing himself between the boy and his wife. Rico, go back downstairs. Maya tilted her head, smiling faintly. So this is the little spy, she murmured. The one who ruined everything. Rico's eyes widened. I'm not a spy. I just didn't want anyone to get hurt. Maya took a step closer, her voice turning cold and sweet. And what makes you think you understand any of this, child? Do you have any idea what power does to people? Rico swallowed hard, standing his ground despite the fear shaking his knees. I know what kindness does, he said softly. It saves them. For a second, just one, her expression faltered. But only for a second. Leonard's voice cut through the air, hard as thunder. Enough, this ends tonight. He pulled his phone from his pocket and dialed a number. Grant, bring them in. Within moments, footsteps echoed in the hallway. The door swung open and Mr. Grant entered, soaked and tense. Two men in black restrained behind him. Maya's face drained of color. Leonard, but he raised a hand, stopping her. Save your words for the police. Grant handed him a small black pouch. Found this on them, sir. A silencer, forged documents, and a transfer receipt from an offshore account in your wife's name. Maya's voice trembled now, for the first time. Leonard, I can explain. Explain how you sold me to the highest bidder? His tone was cold, broken only by the smallest quiver. You wanted freedom? You're about to have plenty of it, behind a steel door. She lunged forward, but Grant blocked her path. The intruders were dragged out, and the echo of their boots faded down the corridor until only the storm remained. Maya stood still, breathing hard, mascara streaking down her face. You think you've won, she hissed. But you've lost more than you know. Leonard looked at her one last time. Maybe, he said quietly. But at least I didn't lose my soul. Grant escorted her away. The door closed, soft but final, the sound of a chapter ending. The moment they were gone, Leonard slumped into the nearest chair, covering his face with his hands. For a man who had conquered every battle, this defeat felt like the first one that truly mattered. After a long pause, a tiny hand tugged gently at his sleeve. Rico stood beside him, hesitant. Are you okay, sir? Leonard looked up slowly, eyes red but steady. No, Rico, he admitted. But I will be. Rico's small voice quivered. I'm sorry I told you about her. I didn't mean to make you sad. Leonard shook his head. You didn't make me sad. You reminded me what truth feels like. Rico frowned. Truth? Leonard nodded. When people care more about money, they forget what's real. Tonight you helped me remember. The boy blinked, unsure what to say. Then quietly, he offered something only a child could. My mom says when bad people leave, it makes room for good ones to come in. Leonard smiled faintly through his exhaustion. Your mother is a wise woman. Thunder rolled outside again, softer now as if the storm was moving on. The mansion no longer felt cursed, just quiet like it was waiting for dawn. Leonard rose, placing a hand on Rico's shoulder. Come, he said gently. Let's find your mother. They walked down the grand staircase together, a billionaire and a barefoot boy, passing the same marble floor where the warning had begun. Downstairs, Elena stood waiting near the kitchen, eyes swollen from tears. When she saw them, she rushed forward. "Sir, is it over?" she asked. Leonard nodded. "It's over. Thanks to your son." Elena looked at Rico, then at Leonard, confusion and relief battling across her face. "I don't know what to say." Leonard's voice softened. "Then don't. Some debts can't be spoken, only repaid." He knelt, looking at Rico again. "You risked everything to tell me the truth. That kind of courage, it's rare. Don't ever lose it." Rico smiled shyly. "I won't, sir." Lightning flashed one last time. Distant and harmless now, as if the heavens themselves were closing the book on the storm. And in that moment, Leonard Hayes, the man who once believed power made him invincible, realized something he had never understood before. It wasn't money that had saved him. It was the honesty of a child who had nothing to give but his heart. The storm was gone. Morning light spilled through the mansion's tall windows, soft and golden, touching the marble like a blessing after a night of fire. The air was different now, lighter, as if the house itself could breathe again. Leonard Hayes stood by the window in his study, his reflection ghosted by sunrise. He hadn't slept. His tailored suit was still the same from last night, though it hung looser on him somehow, not in size but in spirit. For years, the man who had everything had measured his worth in zeros. But that morning, he realized that every number meant nothing beside one small, trembling voice that had dared to say, "Please don't go outside." Behind him came the soft clink of porcelain. Elena entered quietly, carrying a tray. Her eyes were red from tears, her hands steady with effort. "You should rest, sir," she said gently. "It's been a long night." Leonard turned, his expression unreadable but calmer. "There'll be time to rest later." "Where's Rico?" Her lips curved into a faint smile. "Outside. He's feeding the birds. He says they looked hungry after the storm." Leonard's brow softened. "Even after all that happened, he's thinking about the birds." Elena nodded, emotion catching in her throat. "He doesn't know how not to care." Leonard glanced at the sunlight spilling across the desk. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he spoke, his voice quieter than she'd ever heard it. "Elena, I owe your son my life." She shook her head quickly. "No, sir. He only did what he thought was right." Leonard's eyes glistened. "And that's exactly what most grown men forget how to do." He walked past her out to the garden. The storm had left puddles shining like mirrors on the cobblestones. Rico sat cross-legged near the fountain, tossing crumbs to a small flock of sparrows. When he saw Leonard approach, he jumped to his feet, a bit embarrassed. "Sir, I was just—" Leonard raised a hand, smiling. "Feeding them. I can see that." He stopped beside the boy, hands in his coat pockets. For a while, they both watched the birds flutter and peck, the quiet peaceful after so much chaos. Finally, Leonard said, "You know, when I was your age, I used to chase birds away. Thought they were a nuisance. But you—" He paused, looking down. "You feed them. You protect them. Even after everything." Rico shrugged shyly. "They didn't do anything wrong. They just needed someone to care." Leonard smiled, the kind of smile that came from deep inside, the kind he hadn't felt in years. "You remind me of something I used to believe in," he said softly. "That kindness isn't weakness. It's strength." The boy tilted his head. "My mom says being good is hard, but it's still worth it." "She's right," Leonard said. "And so are you." He turned, gesturing for Rico to follow. "Come. There's something I want to show you." They walked back into the mansion, their footsteps echoing gently across the marble floor. The same floor where the boy had once knelt, pleading for his life. Leonard led him to the grand study where a document lay open on the desk. He handed Rico a thick envelope sealed with gold wax. "What's this?" Rico asked. Leonard knelt to his level, his tone calm, deliberate. "It's a scholarship for you. Full tuition, school, college, everything. You'll never have to worry about work or money or missing a chance because you were born into the wrong hallway of the right house." Rico's eyes widened. "You mean, I can really go to school?" Leonard nodded. "You're going to learn everything this world can teach you. And when you're grown, you'll teach others in the way you taught me last night." Tears welled in the boy's eyes. "But sir, why?" "You don't have to." Leonard's smile wavered with emotion. "Because once someone saved me with nothing but honesty. I can't repay that, but I can pass it forward." Elena stood quietly in the doorway, hand over her mouth, tears streaming. Leonard turned to her. Elena, you've served this house faithfully for years. From today, you don't serve anyone. You manage this place. The staff answers to you. It's time someone good ran things around here. She gasped. Sir, I can't accept. You can, he interrupted gently. And you will. Consider it a small step toward making this house a home again. Elena wiped her tears, nodding. Thank you, sir, for believing in us. Leonard looked down at Rico, whose small hands clutched the envelope as though it were made of light. Promise me one thing, Leonard said. Rico looked up. Anything, sir. Never lose the heart that made you speak up last night. Even when people don't believe you. Even when you're scared, Rico nodded hard. I promise. Leonard smiled and rested a hand on the boy's shoulder. Then I'll keep mine too, to make sure you have a future worthy of that courage. The day stretched open, full of light. Somewhere outside, the birds Rico had fed took flight, circling the mansion as if blessing it with forgiveness. 5 years later, the camera of time pans forward, a grand auditorium filled with applause. On stage, a tall young man in a graduation robe holds his diploma high. His name echoes through the speakers, Rico Alvarez, valedictorian. In the front row, an older man stands and claps with quiet pride. Leonard Hayes, his hair silver now, his eyes alive again. Elena sits beside him, wiping tears with a proud smile. Rico looks down at them both and grins. After the ceremony, he walks straight to Leonard, hugging him tight. You kept your promise, Rico whispers. Leonard chuckles softly. No, son, you kept yours. He pulls back, looking at the crowd of students and parents beyond. See all of them? They have no idea that a 9-year-old boy once saved a man who thought he didn't need saving. Rico laughs, shaking his head. You still tell that story? Every chance I get, Leonard says with a wink. Because it reminds me what money can't buy. They walk out of the auditorium together, the old billionaire and the young graduate, side by side, their shadows stretching long in the afternoon sun. And as they step into the light, Leonard says quietly, almost to himself, the richest people aren't the ones who own everything. They're the ones who give back what matters most.
Sometimes, the smallest voice can change the loudest world. Courage has no age, truth has no price, and kindness, no limit.